This film has been made possible by a grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities. When men first discovered that fire could transform the rocks of the earth into durable tools and weapons, the world was changed forever. In the ancient world, the ability to control the production of metal led to wealth and trade and a new economic order. At the end of the 19th century, when Europeans first explored the interior of East Africa, they found thriving iron technologies already in place, thousands of furnaces built of burnt earth and mud. Legends told of the origins of iron making, and rituals attested to its importance. But the furnaces were small and looked primitive to Western eyes, and stories about ancient iron making were seen as fanciful folk tales, not valuable windows into the past. But during the last decade, looking for clues in the oral testimony, using archaeological evidence, and recreating a traditional iron furnace, an anthropologist has challenged the notion that the African technology was primitive and inefficient. This is the story of that search. It begins here in Tanzania, on the western shore of Lake Victoria. This is the home of the Haya, a people with a stable and diversified economy. For centuries, they have netted fish from the vast, shallow waters of Africa's largest lake. Their cattle herds pasture on the rolling open countryside nearby, providing the Haya with milk and meat and manure for the sandy soil. Agriculture is central to the Haya economy. Outside the villages, women work the land, planting peanuts and bambara groundnuts. Each homestead is surrounded by a small banana plantation. And beneath the trees, plots of beans and manioc are planted and tended by the women with simple traditional iron tools. One of the most prosperous tribal groups in Tanzania, the Haya's well-being is tied to the productivity of field and family and village, and depends on an efficient division of labor. One of the special provinces of the men is the brewing of pombe, a mild beer made from fermented bananas and millet seed. The drink is nutritious and, for the elders of the Haya, a social lubricant. Theirs is an oral history, a web of song and legend and story that embodies their past and their most profound beliefs. Peter Schmidt has spent years in East Africa on the trail of ancient technology. He is an ethnoarchaeologist. Like an archaeologist, he excavates the past, but like an ethnographer, he studies the present day to important discoveries about ancient Africa. Edward Lukamba, once one of the region's kings, maintains a traditional royal compound, one of the few left in Central Africa. Besides safeguarding the physical symbols of the African past, Lukamba also preserves some of the rituals that demonstrate the importance of oral tradition in his society. Where records are kept in memory, language itself is power, and it can be offered as a gift or a tribute to a king. Here, a praise singer reenacts a ritual of congratulation in which the singer recounts his own loyalty, bravery, and sexual potency. in terms both immodest and explicit. In the glory reflected from such an account, the ruler too is flattered. How fortunate the king who has such subjects. In the creation myths of the region, one of which Lukamba recounts, the importance of iron is notable.
I heard from elders in Uganda that when the sky came to unite with the earth, it found on earth a fig tree and a thorn tree. When the sky and earth separated again, the sky ascended upwards, carrying iron from the earth. After being taken up by the sky, the iron fell back to earth and was scattered all over. This is when people began to make iron from the soil.
The political histories of the distant past are the special province of Ananga singers, whose long chanted accounts contain the rise and fall of dynasties, of genealogies of kings made powerful by the control of iron-making. This kind of sponsored official history was only one element in the complex of oral traditions that Schmidt was trying to evaluate. In the landscape of East Africa, some objects and sites have a special significance. They are markers, memory devices which commemorate important events and dates. They spur the memory and focus the process of recalling the unwritten history of the region. Many of the stories about iron and iron making in the region coalesce around one particular tree, Kaija. It is not only the size of this tree that is remarkable, it has survived the axe of the farmer and the charcoal maker because, so the legends say, it was the symbolic center of the making of iron. In stories remembered by the elders of the Haya, a distant king had once constructed a tower here, a tower of iron that reached to the heavens. Miyka'el is an oral historian